Guys here. Let's talk about the 5 things we need to see from Brandon Staley for the 2023 season. I know there's been some talks about him being on the hot seat. I do think that he possibly has a little bit of a warm seat, but I do feel we have some really good momentum going into this season that he's going to really grow from his first 2 seasons. So let's get into it, guys. Bolt Bros, let's go. Brandon Staley, I'm a fan of his. Bottom line, just make that clear as day. By the way, if you guys have not done it yet, like, subscribe to our channel. We always deliver solid content for Chargers talk, and we do lives during the season, after games and such too. So appreciate the support once again, guys. But Brandon Staley, love the guy. I think he's very solid as a coach. I think he's got, 2 years under his belt. And guess what? He's been over 500 for his first 2 seasons in the NFL. Is not an easy task by any means. 98 first year. We basically had a playoff game against the Raiders, one of the best games I've ever seen. And then last year got to the playoffs, found a way to lose that one. But what I'm basically saying is that this guy is a winning coach, has not had a losing season. Last season could have easily been a losing season, but guess what? He found a way to basically make it happen. With all the injuries we were dealing with, he still found a way to be an efficient coach. And so I'm a big fan of his. Once again, let's go Brandon Staley here. It's one of our shirts here for Bolt Bros, and it's available in our store. So once again, big fan of Brandon Staley. Yeah, there's a lot of little bumps and bruises that we're having as a first-time head coach, but I do think that he's doing a fantastic job all around, and not even just on the coaching side. I think for the drafting side, I think he's been very, very effective, and probably actually just been his best work so far, in my opinion. Really kind of help out Tom Telesco all around. So let's get into kind of where we are as a team, kind of where my top 5 for Brandon Staley for 2023. We need to see the changes and adjustments all around. So, I'm going to start out with just, player, actually overall decision making as a head coach, and just really protecting our players is one thing that I'm going to say. This is almost a bunch of little 1 points here, but overall coaching decision making. So for our players, for instance, right here, Mike Williams, that's the first one that comes to mind. Last year, we ended up kind of having some issues, right, with putting in players when you don't really need to put them in. Like, for instance, against the Bronco games last year versus week 18, to when we know we had a lock for our playoff position. We should probably not have played anybody during that time. So I think that is an interesting thing to why we ended up playing that game when we have a lock for playoffs. We should probably have just sat him down and not really had a whole heck of a lot of our team out there in general. I think we should have probably ended up staying pretty, how can I say it? Pretty conservative. Put in our backups, let them go out there, get their time on the field. I understand the idea of why you would play Mike Williams here, because Keenan Allen and Mike Williams really haven't had a whole heck of a lot of time throughout the season. And they wanted to be able to give them some reps, get them going, get them ready for playoffs and everything. But guess what? That ended up being a bad decision all around. So we do need to be a little bit better about our situations with our players for our overall decision-making once again. Now, I'm going to kind of jump into one other thing, game strategy. And where I feel game strategy-wise is really kind of the defensive game plan. We had some glimpses, a little bit of that last year, where we ended up being very, very good against the Dolphins, against the Colts, which were kind of a beat-down squad at that point in time. But we have found ways to be able to have very strong defensive plans. And I think really the big part of it is we had a lot of issues with our defensive line. We got to find a way to stop that run. That's a big thing, but be better about our defensive play calling. I mean, that glimpses of last year of trying to find that very strong defense that we know Brandon Staley has. I'll chat a little bit about more of that a little bit more uh, ahead with our top 5 here. But bottom line, we got to find a way to be able to find that dominant Brandon Staley defense. But one thing I want to say, game strategy, defensive, we got to figure out how to make sure we have that good game. I keep going to that Dolphins game. We had a lockdown game plan. Niners game was a great game too. He had a phenomenal game with that one. But one thing I'm just going to emphasize is the offensive side of things. 2021, when Brandon Staley became our head coach, what did he end up doing? He ended up playing Big Ball Staley a lot. In Big Ball Staley, he did show up one time that I could think of last year when we were at the Cardinals game and we were there at that game. What did he do? He ended up going for it on 4th down, go for the win, call it a game, and converted. Great play call, probably one of Lombardi's best play callings that he did all year. Perfect situation. A little rub route right there in the goal line. Get that 2-point conversion, call it a day. So I want to see Big Ball Staley. And why do I want to see that? Well, let's go back to 2021. 4th down conversion rate. We are at 64.7% conversion rate. 22 converted attempts on 34. We basically did phenomenal things all around, in my opinion. I liked seeing that. Now, I want to be able to see more 4th down situation this year, in particular to last year, because I feel that Kellen Moore is the difference maker. He's going to be very smart about what play calls that he makes. I think that we're going to be able to be a dominant offense that we could pretty much run the field at that point. Keep our defense off the field, let them rest, find a way to be able to get the offense on field, keep our best players, best situations. I mean, once again, I've been emphasizing a lot about this offense, that it could be a very overloaded offense with QJ, Allen, Williams, Palmer, Eckler, Everett, Parham. That's a tough situation to be able to guard and block. So once again, I want to see Big Ball Staley back. And he did do it against the Cardinals last year. I feel we should do it further this year. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, guys. So what I'm going to do is point number 2. What I want to see is the dominant Brandon Staley defense. Now, the thing about it is we always kind of look at what he did for the Rams in 2020. I mean, that's kind of essentially what got him this job, right? Obviously, he's from the Vic Fangio kind of field and background. I think that we could get to that point with this team. I think there is a chance that we get to it. Now, once again, he's got Aaron Donald, one of the best defensive linemen of all time, but I think we can get there. So this is just rankings from 2020 when he was a defensive coordinator with the Rams. You know, yards, opponents only gave up 4,511 yards, first in the league. Overall ranking defense, they only gave up 296 points per game, first in the league. That is phenomenal for us. Turnover ratio, 10th in the league. Fumble lost by player, 15th. First down, that's pretty crazy. So they were one of the best in the league against the first down. Amazing. Passing yards, first against the pass, only gave up 3,051 yards. Touchdowns, only gave up 17 touchdowns passing. That is awesome. And then also you're going to net yards gained per pass attempt, first in the league, 5.1 yards. I mean, look at all these stats, guys. I mean, you got 4th in the league, 3rd in the league, 4th in the league, 3rd in the league. I mean, you start looking at a lot of these stats. I mean, this percentage of tries ending in an offensive score, 32nd in the league, phenomenal. That's great. Turnover percentage, we're a little bit in the mid-range there, but hey, that's fine. In the time of their drives, only about 2 minutes and 27 seconds, first in the league. Plays, 3rd in the league. I mean, yards, yards per drive. I mean, points. I mean, amazing. I think we could get to that point with this team, guys. And I think Brandon Staley has the opportunity, once again, that dominant defense that we want to see is close. I think our back end of our defense is phenomenal. The front end of our defense needs to get worked on just a bit. And it's not like Brandon Staley had some heavy hitters in the linebacking core. I think he just needed guys that could be able to protect against the pass. And I think we're really, really close to it. I do feel we have made some great moves on our defensive line. I think we have made some good depth all around too. I want to see that 2020 Rams defense on this Charger squad. Bottom line, if we just do a better job against the run, we'll be peachy keen all around, guys. So that's what I want to see. So that's number 2 for Brandon Staley that I want to see. Number 3, a lot of sure wins. We need to see more sure wins with this team. It's interesting because I think I talked a lot about it last year, where I said we win barely and we get blown out easily, and that's kind of really what it is that we did as a team last year. I mean, it was wild to see that there was like very few blowout games that we ended up just soundly beating teams. And it was a tough thing to watch. I feel like we had a chance to blow out a lot of teams, but we ended up finding ways just to barely get past teams, more or less. So once again, going back to the Jaguars game, could have been a blowout, found a way to lose. We barely lost that game. Last year, it's like a lot of one-score type wins, one-score losses. And, Jacksonville smoked us. That's once again we get blowed out. We barely find a way to beat an opponent. Houston could have been a bigger win. That was really one of our bigger victories of the year outside of the Colts game. But we just find barely ways to be able to win. And we're just barely doing enough to be able to get those wins. But we get blown out. Barely won. Just lost by a score. Barely lost. Like, we got to find more sure wins. Like, once again, the Cardinals game, we just got that one based upon trying a 2-point conversion to win it. Lost to the Raiders just by 1 score. We got to find ways to be able to have more blowout wins. Even to say the Miami game and how dominant we were, just barely won that game. Tennessee, same thing, barely won that game. Need to find more games where we just blow teams out, more or less. Rams game, that was awesome. First time we've seen that, but we got to find more of these dominant wins all around. So that's one thing I really, really want to see, more dominant-based wins as a team. Now, interesting thing I'm going to say is point number 4, deep playoff run. Crazy stat. As Tom Telesco, as our GM, we've only had 2 playoff wins in his tenure with the Chargers. That's not good. Just getting to the playoffs is one thing, but we need to find a way to be able to find a way to get more wins, get a deep playoff run. Last year, we should have had that deep playoff run. We were so close, but we found a way to be able to charger ourselves out of that win. So we need to find ways to do this. And I really think that we should get to this. My opinion, we need to be able to try to get to division series. I think we could get past that. I do feel as long as we're healthy going into the playoffs, I think we could have a good chance to be able to get to the AFC Championship game. My hopes is last year we could have done that. It was set up for us to be able to get to that point. We just need to get past the Jags, and then it was going to be the Chiefs, which I was looking for. That I was drooling for that opportunity to play against the Chiefs in the playoffs and find a way to beat them. So once again, we need to find a deep playoff run all around. So my last point here, what I need to see from Brandon Staley is beat the Chiefs. We need to find a way to do that. We are so close. His 4 games, we've won once. So 1-3 versus the Chiefs, but we find a lot of different ways to be able to lose against the Chiefs. And that's the hard part of it, guys, that we need to be able to find a way to be able to beat them. I mean, that is our challenger in this division, and we need to find a way to be able to beat them. We are so close, guys. We are so close to beat these guys, and we find ways, through a penalty, through basically a late, overtime touchdown to Kelsey, just finding ways to be able to lose against these guys. Mahomes is a phenomenal quarterback. I get it 100%. But we need to find a way to be able to beat the Chiefs. And I think this could be the year. I read this article talking about how the Chiefs have had a lot more loss than gain this offseason. Chiefs are going to be Chiefs. Andy Reid's going to be Andy Reid. He's dominated this division. I mean, I don't even think the Broncos have found a way to beat the Chiefs since Andy Reid's been here. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, maybe I'm overstating that. Chargers are the team that have to challenge the Chiefs, and we have challenged them. We just need to find a way to execute wins versus the Chiefs. That will be the difference maker for this division. That will be the difference maker for the Chargers as a team. We need to beat the Chiefs, bottom line. We are so close. This is the reason why Brandon Staley was hired for this team, because he puts a game plan together for the Chiefs. He wants to beat the Chiefs. That's how he got this job. And he needs to be able to convert that job to be able to beat the Chiefs. I want to see at least one win versus the Chiefs this year in the season. I think there's a chance for two since we play them on week 18. So let's see how this goes. I want to see that happen, guys. But bottom line, guys, this is what I see from Brandon Staley that we need to see from him in 2023. Something I missed? Anything I missed? Do you want to see something else from Brandon Staley for 2023 that I did not list? So once again, guys, appreciate it, guys. Once again, let's go Brandon Staley. Appreciate it, guys. Once again, like, subscribe, sub. Appreciate all the support, guys. Let's get in. Let's get out of here. Bolt Bros. Let's go.